There you go.
Hello, everyone. This is Alp Gursoy. I'm with Geotourists, and I have Jessica Puglisi here from Art OMI in New York. Today, we're going to talk about engaging museum visitors at a safe distance through audio guides. First, I'm going to introduce myself and Geotourist. Geotourist is a storytelling app that hosts audio guides for cultural organizations such as art museums, architectural and historical foundations, and also travel and hospitality organizations and tourism authorities at the city and country level. Art OMI is one of those organizations that started hosting their content through Geotourist last year in 2019, and they've been hosting their content since then. Today, we're going to talk about how they've been utilizing the app to engage with their visitors before the pandemic and the lockdown, what they've done throughout the lockdown, and how they are now opening up their organization, and also how they're utilizing the app to engage with their visitors. So I'm going to ask Jessica to introduce herself and we'll get it started. Jessica?
Hi, thank you, Al. My name is Jessica Puglisi. I am the Communication Director at Art OMI. We are an art center, an international center for the arts located, as you mentioned, in Ghent, New York, which is a small rural village about 2.5 hours from New York City and also from Boston. We are near a small city called Hudson, New York, which is where a lot of our visitors come from. We were founded not as a sculpture and architecture park, which is what we are largely known for now, but actually as a residency center in 1991. The residencies that we've had have always had an international focus. So we've invited architects, writers, musicians, dancers, and visual artists from across the world to come to Art OMI to make work, to collaborate, to exchange culturally. And our residencies have always been free to attend and to apply for. In 1998, we first added sculptures to the grounds. We do have over 300 acres comprising the total of our campus. You can see in this slide, this is a kind of a sample of what it's like. Very rural, contemporary sculpture and architecture are our focus. And so you see a piece in the foreground by Sarah Bremen. That's a recent addition to the park. Behind that, a piece by the artist Brian Toll, which was actually originally exhibited in Ghent, Belgium, and represents a facade of a building there. And then over to the right, you see Arcs in Disorder by Bernard Venet. Our mission has always been to foster tolerance and respect, raise awareness, kind of bring people together through the arts. And one of basically the ways that we do this is through providing the sculpture park free of charge all year round for people to come and engage in contemporary arts and architecture. Yeah, so that's the quick overview.
Great. So you have the outdoor sculpture center, and then you have some indoor exhibitions as well at the Benenson Center and the Newmark Galleries. Can you talk a little bit about the indoor exhibition spaces as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So as I mentioned, the outdoor exhibition space is open 365 days a year. That's 120 acres with about 60 works of art and architecture throughout. Indoors, we have a smaller exhibition space, an 1,100 square foot gallery, the Newmark Gallery, which is in the Benenson Visitor Center. That serves as the gateway to the park. That's where people can interact with our visitor services staff. We staff docents there on the weekend. We also have a small cafe that provides food and drink for those visiting. We do have about 4 to 6 exhibitions per year indoors, so they can be anywhere from a month to several months. And in fact, right now we're looking at lengthening that duration with regards to the need for timed entry and smaller crowds. So this is the Benenson Center that was built in 2008. That was really, it became sort of the moment actually that the park went from being a local thing that people knew to walk their dogs at, to a real destination where people came from miles around to visit.
Right.
Mhm.
And you provide some guided tours as well?
We do. We have a small staff, and so we have always provided a somewhat limited amount of, regular tours. So what we have, we basically staff docents during times we know that'll be busy. So on the weekends, on holidays, during the summer mostly, they kind of roam freely throughout the fields looking for individuals who might want to engage with them. We also supplement the docents with lots of interpretive signage, including directional, markers, and also title markers with usually about a paragraph of curatorial information. We do provide guided tours, what you see here, but those must be scheduled in advance, usually up to 2 weeks, so we can arrange the personnel. And unlike what we are able to provide, free admission, we obviously need to charge for the tours, and so they're less frequent than we might otherwise like.
Right. So how does the audio tour with GeoTourist fit into your programming? And how did you find out about GeoTourist, and how did you develop the tour yourself? If you can tell us about that, that would be great.
Sure. So for a long time, we've been looking to, expand our ability to basically give people, curatorial information, interpretive information about the exhibitions. But, as a smaller institution with a limited educational curatorial staff, providing regular on the hour tours wasn't really feasible. Plus, as I mentioned, we're in a rural area, so we don't see, hundreds of visitors per day. We usually just see a few dozen, except on the busier weekend summer days. So we'd long thought about having an audio tour. We had looked into a couple of different, ways of doing that. Everybody always says, why don't you build an app? We looked into it. We found it would not be cost effective for an organization of our size, and we didn't really have enough functions as an organization where it would actually merit the sort of presence on someone's device to have this one dedicated function. We did realize that there was a number of applications out there like GeoTourist that were providing a more or less free platform in which to list your audio tour, to produce it and to deliver it to your visitors. And as I mentioned, the city of Hudson is nearby to us, and they were one of the, they actually provide, I think, 4 or 5 historic walking tours. And such as a lot of our visitors come from there, we like that kind of synergy between us and them. So yeah, that's how we.
And you actually developed the tour yourself?
We did. We worked with equipment we had on hand. We actually used a Zoom microphone. They're inexpensive. We use those to record. We have, as I mentioned, the artist residencies. When we have writers' readings, we use this. But you could really use a cell phone. And so yeah, we used some of our curatorial staff who were used to giving these tours, had them draft the tour, recorded it, and then edited it using, again, free software, Audacity, which is an open source audio editor that I would recommend anybody use if they're a novice. And so we were able to produce it with me and the rest of the communication staff in-house pretty easily. And then uploading to the website was a breeze as well. So
great to hear. Now, do you want to maybe give us some examples of the artwork that are on the ground?
Yeah, so we can start with this. This is one of the installations that is in our what we call our architecture fields. And so Art OMI actually distinguishes itself from a lot of sculpture parks by inviting accredited working architects to come and do non-client-based pavilions, which are essentially follies on the ground. This one is one of the more renowned pieces we have. It's a It's an inhabitable structure. It's a modular kind of house built by an artist-architect duo, Alex Schwader and Ward Shelley. You can see that's Alex Schwader in the foreground, and then the ghost of Ward Shelley is in the background. This house responds to the movements of those within it, so these two men, and then also environmental impulses. So basically the wind, you know, everything else, it just seesaws and spins around and people whack at it. So they sometimes visit the house and live within it for durational performances that kind of explore the sort of dynamics that such a living environment produces.
So I'm going to play a little snippet of the audio for this installation from the audio tour.
Reactor, 2016. Schwader and Shelley, a collaborative duo of artist and architect, worked together to create what they refer to as performance architecture. Their kinetic structures are designed with interaction in mind, from both their inhabitants and their surroundings. Reactor is a modern home situated atop a single 15-foot concrete pole that does exactly what its name suggests. It reacts to its environment, both internal and external. The house.
So that's the audio snippet for those of you who would like to know how that works out. So visitors can download it. It's also GPS activated. They can download the free app and they'll be able to hear the audio of the installation that are closest to them. It automatically recognizes where they're close to. So let's look at another artwork on the grounds just to give our viewers an idea of the type of exhibitions and installations you have.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yeah, so this is another work that's actually built by an architect. This is Alexander Marigold, and the name of the piece is Oculi. This is actually elements, the hoops are elements of a repurposed grain silos, originally from a place in a working farm in Ohio, which were sliced and then reconfigured in this way. The colors, the blue palette is actually built so that if you happen to be under one of those hoops looking up at the sky on just such a day, it perhaps, you know, looks seamless with the sky. So there are all these different sky blue colors. And underneath, which you can't see in the photograph, there are hammocks swinging, so you can actually come and rest in these shades, in the shade of the structure, and also just kind of observe the sky and think about the blue. It's a very cooling, really lovely piece.
Okay, and we have another one.
Yeah, so this is one of the sort of seminal pieces in our collection. This is Robert Grossner. This is just an entitled piece of his. I don't know if the photo quite allows you to see how large it is, but when you approach it in the field, it's sort of this grand, elegant thing up on a hill that just sort of, you know, reaches up towards the sky. And it's an aluminum structure. Yeah, and I believe 1968 was the year it was created.
You know, I saw something very similar of his, Robert Grossner's, at the LACMA, the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. I think it was last summer, but it was kind of the same color and very similar form.
Exactly.
So it was like a land art exhibition, and so that's what it is. Very interesting.
Yeah, this is actually one of the few items or one of the few pieces that actually Art OMI has, because we are a non-collecting institution. So this is actually one of our few pieces that we do own.
Right. So you were accepting visitors and using the audio guide, and then, you know, earlier this year the coronavirus happened. So how was your organization affected, and what did you do in terms of, you know, lockdown? How long did it last? So if you can tell us, you know, what you went through during that time, that'll be
absolutely. So yeah, as you know, we are in New York State, which for a while was the global center of the coronavirus pandemic. Fortunately for us, that moment seems to have passed, though clearly we're not out of the woods yet. Yeah, so as of, I believe, March 13th, we closed our administrative offices and all of our indoor facilities, which meant that we also eventually ended up canceling our entire residency season until possibly we will invite some writers in starting in October. But it did mean that, you know, all of our educational programs, all of our public events, everything that we were planning to do during our high season has been temporarily shelved. What we were able to do, however, which is really exciting and distinguishes us from so many other institutions, is most of our collection is outside. We do not charge admission, and so we don't have a formal ticketing process that people need to go through to get access to the grounds. And so we were able to, after a lot of work, kind of reconfiguring our parking lot to be sort of self-regulating. People were like really crowding it for a while. We found a sort of balance where we could admit visitors, and a certain amount of visitors were wearing masks in the parking lot and doing what they needed to do to remain appropriately distant. And people have been able to explore the park more or less without interruption since we closed down. We are still technically closed down. I believe July 18th, actually, we are reopening the gallery with timed entry. But at this point in time, we, aside from our facilities staff, which, you know, they need to be there to do a lot of things, you know, the administrative staff is mostly still working entirely from home, and we haven't done anything indoors basically since. But
Right.
so this has meant, in terms of, you know, we immediately realized that having this audio tour was like a huge asset, because people could not only go to the park, but they could also have an edifying experience of art and, you know, amidst all of this, which, you know, the Met is closed, like everything is closed, and, you know, very few people have gotten the opportunity since all of these closures to actually engage in art anywhere. you know
Right.
you know
All social distancing.
exactly.
Right. And then you launched another tour just a few weeks ago. If
Exactly.
you can tell us about that as well, and I'll play a little snippet of that tour too.
Absolutely. So a large part of our mission, you know, as I mentioned, is sort of, I don't want to say bringing art to the masses, but basically providing like a very easygoing, self-guided, experiential way of, you know, people who might not consider themselves an art audience to just go out and encounter art on their own terms, perhaps quietly alone around a path in the woods. And, you know, so our mission really extends, we do quite a lot of educational programming. So kids from a very young age, as young as 3, actually we even have a younger program for toddlers called Artful Playgroup. So we're getting them young, and we, you know, really kind of trying to give kids, you know, a sort of experience of contemporary art, and just understanding that they can engage in it, that, you know, they can see the world through this framework very young. So last year we developed what we call the Explore Map, which is a learning tool that allows the kids to not, to families really, to be guiding a tour through the collection, which, or not the collection, the grounds, with, you know, where they can understand how to safely and appropriately interact with certain works that are built to withstand kids climbing on them or touching them or whatever. And so from that, we developed what we now call the Explore Audio Tour. And that is basically just for mostly geared at children under 12 to go and, you know, listen with their families and think about the art from, you know, what would be more of a kid's perspective, a young person's understanding of what the work is and how to see it, really.
Right. So I'll play just a little snippet of that children's tour. This is The Scapegoat by Nari Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Nari Ward, Scapegoat. Nari Ward was born in Jamaica and lives in New York. To make his sculptures, this artist uses thrown away objects and materials collected in his own neighborhood. He has repurposed objects such as baby strollers, shopping carts, bottles, doors, television sets, cash registers, and even shoelaces. What materials do you recognize in this sculpture? In his piece, Scapegoat, Nari Ward creates a giant version of a hobby horse.
So it's great that, for the children, the tour invites children to kind of be more interactive with the art piece, and it's great because you can stop the tour at that point, have a conversation, kids and parents and friends, and then restart it, and then explore other parts of the art installation in terms of the materials and what they feel about it. So it makes it even more interactive and educational. So how in general, how did the app help you, your Art OMI, in terms of your educational objectives, in terms of your engagement with your visitors? Do you have any anecdotal feedback? I know we can see, how many were downloaded, and we have hundreds of downloads. But I think you have some feedback from both visitors and also from your help desk as well, from your reception desk.
Certainly. So, one of the things that, basically any new visitor walks in the door, they're like, where are the bathrooms? Where's the cafe? Where's the tour? So we had two of those answers. But, again, like I think our situation is one that a lot of smaller institutions encounter, where it's just not, for whatever reason, possible to staff a constant tour schedule. So, this basically was, I don't want to call it a Band-Aid, it was a solution to that problem, and a lot of people can walk in and we can say, well, the tour is wherever you want to go, here it is. And, I think it really has helped us not only just answer them with a tour, but also give them a tour that carries on, as I mentioned, our own people's ability to go and do things at their own pace, at their own terms, kind of engage in this sort of discovery, read the title marker, listen to the tour point, walk around the piece, not feel rushed or, anything else. And then they can go and flag down a docent or a visitor services associate at the desk, maybe engage in a conversation. As you mentioned, when I asked some of my colleagues to say if they had any memorable experiences, one of my colleagues mentioned that she had helped an older visitor download the audio tour, who basically was not. So I should say that the grounds are rather, hilly. You might wander through some forest, it might be muddy. So some people like to just kind of have some tea, look out onto the grounds from the Benenson Center, and that's their experience. So this individual basically was able to sit there and kind of listen to the tour, page through the website and see images of the exhibitions, and then feel like she had a full and interesting sort of experience that she was then able to relate to her family who had gone out into the fields. Other people have been able to have expressed, it's almost like a souvenir we can give them, after they go and do the tour, the physical walking around, they can go home. And again, our website is filled with images of our exhibitions, all 4 seasons a lot of the time. So you can kind of scroll through the images and, feel as if you are touring, in that sort of virtual way that we've all been, suddenly thrown into.
Right.
Yeah.
What a great way to spend a weekend or an afternoon, especially in the summertime, to walk the grounds and then explore the different installations with your family, kids, and friends. So thank you so much for hosting your tour. We're really glad that you are benefiting from it the way you did during the lockdown, and also now that everything is opening up and the weather is so much better. So for those of you, you can download our app GeoTourist on the Apple and Google Android app stores for free. It's a free app, and then you can access the Art OMI tour, both tours on your phone, or you can just access it on your laptop, or just on the web interface by going to geotourist.com/tours/2913. That's where you can listen to the tour. Or hopefully when you make it to the New York region, when you feel comfortable flying out to New York and heading out to upstate New York, hopefully you can visit Art OMI and the beautiful grounds soon and experience them in person. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And enjoy your summer.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.